No matter how hard you try, your vocal mix still sucks. In this video, I will share how I use this great tool to improve my vocal mix. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JustDaNorm, and I hope you're feeling great wherever you may be in the world. Today, I'm talking about a tool that's included within Cakewalk by Bandlab that can help you get a better mix for your voice. And I'm in front of a project that I actually worked on a while ago. It was in another video. I don't remember which one it was in, but maybe you remember. But I have these audio clips. This is all a vocal beat, all my voice. And we want to listen to this lead vocal and see if we can tweak this lead vocal a little bit, because right now, it sounds okay, but it can have more clarity. So check this out. Okay, as you can see, we're gonna talk about this famous tool, and you may know what it is. It's called an EQ. An equalizer is a great tool that you can use, and it comes with any DAW that you work in, whether you're working with FL Studio or Cakewalk or Cubase or Pro Tools, whichever. This tool you can find anywhere. Now, I know it may be a little confusing to use, but I'm going to show you exactly how to work it. Now, this is a true beginner video, so I'm not going to go into all the major details of it, but by the end of the video, hopefully you can actually learn how to use it and incorporate it into your project. Now, I have an EQ set up right here right now, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. This is a track that I want to listen to. How can I imagine life without you? Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be if you were... Okay, so you can tell right now that the vocal is cool, you know. It wasn't the best recording myself, but there's a few different things that I really want to do. But before you can like worry about compression, worry about reverb or delay or any other effects, I need to make sure that I can EQ this vocal, because that's going to help me get rid of some of the frequencies that I may want, some of the frequencies that I may not want. Now, before I do that, I'm going to boost the level on this volume on this. Now, you can do a few different things. You can turn your gain up over here. Just go there, click on your track, turn the gain up. Now, when you listen to it, it should be louder. How can I can turn up some more. Imagine life without you. Yeah. Okay, so we got it good, all right? Now, one key thing to remember when you are EQing is that the reason why we do this is because we're trying to affect what's going on naturally in our voice. My voice is naturally nasally. You know, I don't have a lot of bottom end, so I tend to put more bottom end or more low end into my voice. So let's look back at the EQ so we can understand what I'm talking about. So on the EQ, we have what's called frequencies, right? Frequencies can also be set to the notes on a piano. This comes in handy if you are a person that you're doing live sound, or if you are working with a specific frequency that you don't like. You can find out what that frequency is. On the EQ, what I want to do is I want to look for those frequencies that I don't like. And we call this subtractive EQ. This is the first thing that you need to do. Before we get into subtractive EQ, first of all, let me turn my EQ back on. Let's enable it so we can see it. Now, you notice that I have some things already enabled. I'm going to disable this. How can I? And you can actually see imagine life without where you. The frequencies are lying at. Yeah. If you're not familiar with frequencies, we measure them in hertz or kilohertz. All right. So we go from 20 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz. And this is what the human range is capable of hearing. But of course, anything below 100, maybe 80 hertz, we don't really hear as well. And as you get older, a lot of your higher frequency range disappears. This is why most of the characteristics of the voice lies between 100 and about 2.5K. Anything else is just like additive, like up higher will give you more brilliance or more brightness or more airiness, and below will give you more rumble or more bottom, a more oomph into your vocals. Now, if you're not familiar with the different frequency ranges or how the voice works, I have below a free PDF that I found on Sweetwater. Shout out to them for creating something like this that'll kind of help you understand different instruments and where the sweet spots are of those instruments. So you'll know where to add or where to cut in those frequency ranges. The first type of subtractive EQ I want to do, meaning that I'm going to take away a frequency, is called a high pass filter. Now on this EQ, you'll see what's called HP. When I click on HP, it enables it. Then there's a slope. The slope is basically what angle I want it to go at. Me personally, I like to use a sharp slope. So I'm gonna set it on 48. You may not know exactly what you're listening for. So I'm gonna take it as far as it can go and you can hear the difference. Okay, I'm gonna roll it back.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take it back up, and I want to take it until I hear a change, a drastic change in it.
And how can I imagine what life would be if you weren't there?
Okay, so I know like around...
Time comes by now, I don't why.
I know around 170, 160 hertz, that's where I really saw a drastic change.
Time
so you take it back.
By, but I don't even try.
And you hear all that low rumble. So I'm gonna keep it about right there, 84. The reason why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of lower frequencies, especially like if you're recording near a computer or, you know, I don't know, it could be any rumbling from anything going on in your house. And a lot of those noises pick up. This is also where you might find a lot of the plosives. Plosives are when you go, puh, puh, puh. Okay, all right. Now, if you're going for that effect, that's great. But if you're not going for that effect, then you definitely want to roll off or use a high pass filter. This is also called a low cut. The next thing I'm listening for is I'm listening for a frequency in each range. So we have lows, low mids, high mids, and highs. Now I know there are always going to be some troubled frequencies. So I'm going to listen really carefully. What you can actually do is if you're trying to find frequencies that are like standing out or frequencies that you don't like, you can sweep the frequency. And what I mean by that is, let's say I want to pick this low point, this low mid, all right? If you click on the node right here, it cuts it off. And if you click on, you can enable it down here as well. But I want to adjust the Q. The Q is going to make it more of a wider angle or more of a sharper angle. And I know, so that's wider. You never really want to do it like that. You'll cut all your frequencies out, or you'll boost all the frequencies too much. But you want to make it sharp. Now, you don't have to make it real sharp, but you want to make it sharp enough. All right, so I'm going to put it on 12.5. And then I can use my knob at the bottom, the frequency, to sweep back and forth. And while I'm playing that, I'm going to pull it up. I can pin this right here, pin zoom in the window. I should have did that at first so that way it doesn't keep cutting off. All right.
How can I?
And then I'm going to try to search
imagine life without
for
you.
frequencies that I don't like.
Yeah.
All right, so this is 168, gives me a lot of warmth.
Imagine what life would be if you were there.
308 is going to give me more of my body.
How can I imagine life without you?
I don't really like that frequency, but let me keep going.
Yeah. And how can I?
So around 300 to 500 hertz is the area where it's really boxy, and it's an annoying sound. So if you have too much of it, it's really going to affect it.
How can I?
So I'm going to try to just dip it a little bit.
Imagine life without you. Yeah. And how can I?
If I take it all the way out.
Imagine what life would be.
So I don't need to take that much out.
If you were there.
Do I need to adjust the Q at all?
How can I imagine life without you?
That's going to take some of my body out. We don't want that much body out.
Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be if you were there?
All right.
How can I?
So now I'm going to try to work on the high mids.
Imagine
Same thing. I'm going to turn it on.
You.
I'm going to adjust my Q. I'm going to go up.
Yeah.
Try to find a frequency that I think
and how can I
that I really don't like in that range.
Imagine what life would be if you were there. How can I imagine life without you? Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be?
And you might not find any frequencies that you really want to adjust. Sometimes it's a little tricky to try to do this.
How can I imagine life without you?
All right, I'm going to dip it down right there a little bit.
And how can I imagine what life would be if you were there?
Now on the highs, there are, just like on the lows, there are two different parts that you can use. There is a peak point, which is like this, and then there is a shelf. So a shelf allows you just to fix, to create a fixed point rather, and then you just want to like create a shelf. Basically means just raise that whole section up. Or if I can use the peak, then that means I can actually do dips like that. Normally for highs, if I was doing additive, I would want to do that shelf. Or you might even want to do a shelf going down, you know, taking some away. I'm going to keep it at peak right now because I'm not looking for any high frequencies. I'm looking mainly for high mids, which is going to be around this 2 to 5K hertz. All right, so this
How can I
4 kilohertz.
Imagine life without you. Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be?
Now, if I want to do a low pass filter, that means if I want to roll off some highs, I can do that as well.
How can I imagine life without you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, you don't want to do that much of it. You maybe want to just roll off a little bit.
How can I?
But I'm not going to worry about it. I like the way it is right now.
Imagine what life would be.
So now let me hear it with the rest of the music. Now I know you haven't heard the whole song thus far, or maybe you have it if you saw it on another video, but let's listen to it again when it comes in.
How can I imagine life without you? Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be if you were?
All right, so it's sounding better, but the next part that I want to talk about is additive EQ. I've got my EQ minimized for a moment because I'm going to add a module right here. So you can right click on any space where it's gray, but then you go down to FX chain, Pro Channel FX chain. All right, and then that will add an FX chain here. Then I can click the plus sign and I can go insert audio, Sonitis Equalizer. All right, and now it's all within the strip here because you want to make sure that these EQ go a certain order. So I want my additive EQ to come after my subtractive EQ. So on the Sonitis Equalizer, it's made a little different, but the same thing. You have these different bands. So you have 6 bands here, and then you can move them or sweep them wherever you want them, and then you can adjust them as. Here's your options: peak dip, which we talked about before, the shelving, low or high, or low pass or high pass. So you can change any of these into those functions. All right, so I can adjust 6, and then I can just move 5, and 5 is set on, 5 and 6 are both set on high shelf. So I can listen to that and see what that sounds like.
And there, how can I
And bypass it.
Imagine life without you.
Enable it.
Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be if you were there?
Okay, so you can tell the difference.
How can I imagine life without you?
Now maybe that's too much and I don't really want it that way. Okay.
And how can I imagine what life would be if you weren't there. How can I imagine life without you? Yeah.
So you notice it got a lot more brightness. It has more character to it. It's cutting through the mix a lot more. I haven't even added compression on, but let's hear what it had in compression. I had reverb on it too as well. Just a little bit. Let's see what it sounds like once I add those back in.
How can I imagine life without you? Yeah. And how can I imagine what life would be if you weren't there?
All right, so, and there it is, you all. This is a quick way to add EQ to your vocals. It is going to be up to you to have an ear for this. Is it going to sound great the first time that you do this?
No.
It may not sound great the first time that you do this. You got to play around with it. It does help to listen on different devices. So you definitely want to listen on your headphones, maybe with your earbuds. If you got some reference speakers, if you got your headphones, your regular headphones on your computer and your car stereo, you want to take your time to listen to your mix to make sure that you can get it the best that it can be. Every mix is going to be better. Like if I go back and listen to the songs that I had 15, 20 years ago, I know they sounded like crap. I will go back and mix them in a heartbeat. But it's all about learning the process. It's all about working slowly to get better at this. But if you're a person and you really are taking this to heart and you really want to get better at equalizing and better at mixing, period, definitely check out the video that's going to pop up. It's going to talk about how to mix your vocals in the different parts that go into mixing. All right, I love you all. Stay tuned for the next video.